Stop eating this vegetable after 60. It's destroying your gut health. You've probably heard for years that green peppers are a healthy choice, bright, crunchy, packed with vitamins. But here's a twist most people never see coming. After 60, that same healthy pepper can quietly work against you. Hidden inside those crunchy bites lies a compound that, according to medical studies on older adults, can inflame your gut, trigger bloating, and even stir up joint pain if eaten regularly after 60. For many older adults who eat well, but still feel uncomfortable after meals, the true culprit sitting on the plate isn't oil, sugar, or salt. It's that innocent green pepper. Now, before you feel like tossing every vegetable out of the fridge, take a breath. The fix is simple once you understand what's happening inside your body. After 60, digestion naturally slows, stomach acid and enzymes decline, and the friendly gut bacteria that used to break down tough plant fibers lose a bit of strength. That means certain foods your body handled easily years ago can suddenly become hard work. And green peppers, with their tough skins and hidden plant toxins, land squarely in that danger zone. Inside those glossy green skins lies a natural defense chemical called Solanine. It's part of a group of compounds that plants create to fight off insects and pests, but it's also rough on human digestion, especially in older adults. Medical research shows Solanine, documented in toxicology and digestive health studies, can disrupt cell membranes, interfere with your body's electrical balance, and inflame the gut lining, particularly in older adults with slower metabolism or reduced gut barrier integrity. In younger people with quick metabolisms, that irritation might pass unnoticed. But for adults over 60, who already have more delicate digestion, Solanine can trigger a chain of reactions that leave the gut inflamed and the joints aching. Here's the tricky part. Green peppers are part of the Nightshade family, right alongside white potatoes and eggplants. They all contain small amounts of these alkaloid toxins. And while those levels aren't enough to kill you, repeated low-dose exposure can quietly stress your digestive system over time. Researchers have documented how solanine can damage the protective lining of intestinal cells, making them more porous. Think of it like worn fabric. What used to block irritants from entering the bloodstream now starts to leak, setting off inflammation that travels to the joints and other tissues. That's one reason some people can't figure out why their knees or wrists ache, even though they're eating healthy. And it's not just solanine. The thick, fibrous structure of green pepper skin adds another obstacle. That skin is high in cellulose, a plant fiber humans simply can't digest. Normally, your gut bacteria help break it down. But with age, the microbiome loses some of its efficiency. So instead of aiding digestion, cellulose-rich walls trap gas and cause cramping. The double hit of solanine plus cellulose makes green peppers, especially raw ones, a perfect storm for older digestive systems. Researchers have confirmed that cellulose fermentation declines after 60, while solanine absorption may be prolonged, producing the very bloating and cramping many seniors report. If you've noticed you feel bloated, gassy, or tired after a healthy stir-fry or salad, it might not be the oil or the onions, it could be that pepper. Many seniors think they're reacting to spices or dairy when in reality, their gut is reacting to alkaloids and tough fibers it can't handle anymore. And since these reactions can take hours to appear, they're easy to miss or blame on something else. But here's the good news. You don't have to swear off flavor or color. The problem isn't peppers in general. It's that green. Unripe ones have higher solanine levels. When a bell pepper ripens fully and turns red, orange, or yellow, that alkaloid content drops dramatically while its antioxidants and vitamins rise. That means you can still enjoy the same crunch and sweetness without punishing your gut. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how solanine and cellulose team up against your digestive comfort, and more importantly, what to do about it. We'll break down what happens in your gut after 60, show why green peppers cause so many hidden symptoms, and walk through simple swaps you can make today for better comfort, less inflammation, and more energy. Your meals will still look colorful and taste great, but your stomach will finally thank you instead of protesting. Section 1. Why digestion changes after 60. The first thing you need to know is this: your digestive system at 60 is not the same machine it was at 40. Even if you eat balanced meals, limit sugar, and stay active, there are invisible shifts happening inside your gut that change how your body handles food. Think of it as a slower, gentler engine that still runs beautifully but needs a bit more maintenance. And when certain foods push that engine too hard, problems like bloating, acid reflux, or stomach pressure start to appear much faster. One of the biggest changes is in stomach acid production. When you're younger, your stomach releases strong hydrochloric acid to break down proteins, extract minerals, and kill harmful bacteria. But with age, that acid naturally declines, sometimes by 50% or more. Low stomach acid means food lingers longer before it starts digesting, which can cause that heavy, full for hours feeling after normal meals. It also means your stomach struggles to fully break down tougher fibers or plant chemicals, including those stubborn alkaloids found in green peppers. At the same time, your gut motility, basically how well food moves through your intestines, starts to slow down. This isn't because you're doing anything wrong. It's simply how the body changes as our muscles and nerve signals age. The result? Digestion feels sluggish, gas builds up, and nutrients take longer to absorb. Add in less movement or certain medications, and your gut can feel like it's on pause more often than it should. Now, here's where the trouble compounds. Slower digestion and weaker acids create a perfect storm for incomplete food breakdown. Bits of high-fiber vegetables or complex plant toxins that would have passed easily when you were younger now stay in the gut longer, creating irritation and feeding the wrong kinds of bacteria. Studies on older adults show that when food lingers too long in the intestines, it promotes microbial imbalance, also known as dysbiosis, which leads to bloating, discomfort, and sometimes inflammatory reactions. Another key shift after 60 happens in enzyme production. Enzymes are your body's chemical scissors, the molecules that snip proteins, fats, and carbs into pieces small enough to absorb. The pancreas and intestines still make these enzymes as you age, but the total output starts to drop off. That means even simple foods like a salad with olive oil and mixed veggies can take more work to digest. Any food that's naturally tough, like raw green peppers, puts extra strain on that limited enzyme supply. Let's also talk about your gut microbiome, the colony of bacteria inside your intestines that does half the digestive work for you. When you're young, your microbiome is diverse and resilient. It breaks down fibers efficiently and produces short-chain fatty acids that keep your colon and immune system healthy. But after 60, that diversity begins to thin out. Some bacterial strains fade, while other, less helpful kinds increase. This loss means certain fibers, especially rough or insoluble ones like cellulose, don't ferment smoothly anymore. Instead of feeding the good bacteria, they sit and ferment unevenly, causing the bloating, flatulence, and rock in the stomach sensations so many older adults complain about. This reduction in microbial diversity doesn't just influence digestion, it also weakens your immune defense. More research now shows that 70 to 80% of immune activity happens inside the gut. A weaker, imbalanced microbiome makes it easier for inflammation to spread from the intestines to the joints, skin, or even the brain. So a sensitive gut isn't just a digestion issue, it's a whole body issue. Another thing that often gets overlooked is hydration and electrolyte balance. Seniors tend to drink less water because thirst cues decline with age, and medications like diuretics can pull fluid out of the system. Without adequate hydration, the intestines absorb less efficiently and stool moves slower. This causes dryness in the digestive tract, which intensifies the difficulty of processing fibrous vegetables. Raw green peppers with their thick cellulose walls can feel like sandpaper moving through an already dry tunnel. No wonder so many older adults notice cramping or indigestion after eating them in salads. To make matters a little trickier, medications and supplements add their own influence. Many common prescriptions, antacids, blood pressure meds, pain relievers, alter stomach acid levels or slow intestinal contractions. So even if you think you're eating right, those pills may quietly be making digestion weaker, laying the groundwork for intolerance to certain foods. When something as dense and fibrous as a green pepper comes along, it tips the balance from manageable to uncomfortable. Age also changes the structural side of digestion. The intestinal lining, those thin, delicate walls responsible for absorbing nutrients, gradually loses some of its protective thickness and elasticity. Years of natural wear, combined with slower cell repair, mean it becomes easier for irritants to cross that barrier. This is what experts refer to as increased intestinal permeability, or more simply, leaky gut. In this state, small toxins or plant compounds that should stay trapped in the digestive tract can seep into circulation, triggering immune responses and inflammation. The irony? You could be eating an innocent-looking vegetable, and yet it quietly irritates your body from the inside out. All these changes, lower acid, slower motility, fewer enzymes, weaker microbiome, thinner gut lining, combine into one big truth. Certain foods that once nourished effortlessly may now backfire. Green peppers, unfortunately, hit nearly every weak spot. They're high in cellulose that resists digestion. They carry solanine that irritates the gut lining, and they stay in the intestines longer because of reduced acid and enzymes. For adults over 60, that combination can make a simple stir-fry feel like a brick in the stomach. So if you've ever noticed meals sitting heavier than they used to, or you feel gassy after vegetables you once loved, it's not your imagination. In fact, controlled studies on elderly digestion confirm that reduced acid and enzyme production directly slow the breakdown of fibers like those in green peppers, meaning the discomfort has a physiological cause, not personal weakness. It's physiology. Your body is just less tolerant of foods that need strong acid and fast processing to feel comfortable afterward. Recognizing that isn't about giving up, it's about adjusting with awareness. The upside is that once you understand why these changes occur, you can work with them instead of against them. Older adults who shift toward gentler vegetables, eat smaller portions more frequently, and emphasize hydration often experience noticeable relief within a week. A balanced diet still matters. It just needs to reflect the new reality of a slower, more sensitive digestive rhythm. And here's the important bridge to our next part. Once you see how digestion evolves with age, the surprising damage from certain vegetables starts to make sense. Because when the body's protective barriers thin out and digestion slows down, compounds that barely bothered you before can suddenly become toxic allies. And that's exactly where green peppers sneak in under the radar. Section 2. The hidden toxin in green peppers, solanine. Here's the surprising truth most people never hear. Inside every crisp, green bell pepper lives a chemical your body treats like a mild poison. It's called solanine, and it's part of the pepper's built-in defense system. All plants have ways to fight off pests and infections, but the trouble starts when that protective chemical ends up confusing your digestive system instead of helping it. Solanine belongs to a family of natural compounds called glycoalkaloids, and you'll find it throughout the entire nightshade group, potatoes, eggplants, and both green and unripe peppers. In nature, solanine works brilliantly because it stops insects and molds from attacking the plant. But in humans, especially older adults, it's a subtle irritant. You don't need a huge amount of it to feel the effects, only enough to start quietly undermining your gut comfort. What researchers have found is that solanine is not evenly distributed in these foods. It's highest in green or unripe peppers, while brightly colored ripe peppers, red, orange, and yellow, contain far less. That's because as the pepper ripens, it breaks down these alkaloid defenses and replaces them with antioxidant pigments like beta-carotene and vitamin C. When you bite into a raw green pepper, you're getting crisp texture, but also the most concentrated dose of solanine that plant will ever have. Now, what exactly does this compound do once it's inside your body? Studies show that solanine can disrupt cell membranes, and the damage often begins in the digestive tract. Think of the inner lining of your intestines as a wall made of tightly packed bricks. Those bricks are the cells that absorb nutrients while blocking toxins. Solanine slips into the spacing between them, loosens the bonds, and weakens the wall. Over time, that increases what doctors call intestinal permeability or leaky gut. It's the difference between a closed window and one that's just slightly open. You start letting things through that were never meant to cross. Medical sources also describe solanine's effect on mitochondria, the little energy factories inside every cell. By altering the balance of potassium and calcium within those mitochondria, solanine can trigger stress responses that cause inflammation and even programmed cell death. Essentially, it tires cells out before they can repair themselves. This is part of why people with already slower recovery, like many over 60, may feel systemic fatigue after eating nightshades frequently. The body spends more energy repairing microscopic irritation than it does nourishing tissue. Another key discovery involves red blood cells and nerve enzymes. In laboratory studies, solanine has been shown to weaken red blood cell membranes and inhibit an enzyme called cholinesterase, which nerves use to communicate properly. That's one reason symptoms of exposure can include fogginess, cramps, or that slightly dizzy, off-balance feeling a few hours after a meal heavy in potatoes or green peppers. None of this means you're in danger from a single serving, but for someone whose liver and kidneys already work at a slower pace, the clearing process takes longer, and that irritation can accumulate subtly day after day. So how much is too much? Toxicologists set rough limits mainly for safety in the potato industry, because potatoes are where solanine poisoning has been reported most. But the logic applies across the board. At doses as low as 1 milligram per kilogram of body weight, measurable physiological changes can occur. You'd need to eat quite a lot of perfectly green produce to reach acute danger, but chronic low-level exposure is what worries specialists most for older adults. When digestion slows and detox pathways weaken, even normal levels may linger longer in the bloodstream, quietly pushing the immune system toward inflammation. Now, I know that might sound abstract, so let's ground it in what you'd actually feel. When solanine irritates the gut lining, you might notice a burning sensation or mild nausea soon after eating, a dull ache in the upper belly, or a feeling like food just isn't going anywhere. That's the membrane disruption playing out. Over time, the inflammation can spark bloating, alternating constipation, and loose stools, or that uncomfortable tightness across the lower abdomen. Because the nerve enzyme cholinesterase gets affected, you can also experience strange symptoms that don't seem digestive: restlessness, stiffness, headaches, or light joint swelling the next morning. These crossbody effects are part of what makes solanine intolerance so confusing for physicians to identify. For older adults, there are a few specific risk factors that magnify solanine's punch. Lower stomach acid means the compound isn't neutralized as efficiently before reaching the intestines. Slower gut transit allows it to stay in contact with the intestinal walls longer, and reduced liver and kidney filtration can delay its removal once it's absorbed into the bloodstream. Put that together, and you can see why two people might eat the same salad, but only the senior ends up feeling bloated and achy afterward. One of the biggest clues your body gives is bitterness. If you've ever bitten into a green pepper that tasted unusually bitter or sharp, that's nature's warning sign. The plant has elevated glycoalkaloid content. In ancient times, that bitter taste would tell humans to spit it out. Modern palates are so used to variety that we override that signal and keep eating. But remember, bitterness equals higher solanine. It's also worth noting that cooking helps, but only partly. Solanine begins breaking down around 340 degrees Fahrenheit, 170 degrees Celsius, yet typical sautéing or baking rarely destroys it completely. So while roasting green peppers may reduce irritation a bit compared with eating them raw, the compound isn't entirely gone. Plus, the cellulose walls of the pepper remain intact unless fully softened, meaning your digestive tract still faces extra mechanical work. That's why even a roasted stuffed pepper can leave some people feeling uneasily full long after dinner. Documented case reviews in medical journals reveal that solanine poisoning, though rare, most often occurs when people eat green, sprouted, or damaged potatoes. The exact same chemical pattern exists in unripe peppers. It's just that most people don't eat them in huge quantities at once. For an elderly digestive system, however, small, steady exposure matters more than a single large one. Researchers have even found that alpha-solanine can accumulate in tissues over repeated meals if the metabolism of liver enzymes slows down, which is common after 60. To put it simply, solanine pokes tiny holes in cellular walls, steals energy from mitochondria, and nudges your immune system toward irritation. The result is a digestive landscape that stays mildly inflamed. You might not call it food poisoning, but it's enough to dull nutrient absorption, deplete energy, and make joints flare up a bit faster when inflammation spreads through the bloodstream. Those are signals to listen to rather than ignore. You may wonder, if this toxin exists naturally, why don't health agencies warn about eating green peppers? That's a fair question. The truth is, standard safety limits assume a healthy adult digestive system that can process and excrete alkaloids efficiently. Those guidelines rarely account for older physiology, lower acid, thinner gut lining, multiple medications, all of which can heighten sensitivity. So while a 30-year-old can polish off a fajita loaded with green peppers and feel fine, someone over 60 might wake up with stiffness or stomach churn without realizing the connection. Here's what the practical takeaway looks like. Simple, doctor-approved steps that make daily life easier rather than restrictive. If you enjoy peppers, aim for fully ripe varieties, the red, orange, or yellow ones. They have significantly lower solanine levels, typically below detection in laboratory tests, while packing far more antioxidants like vitamin C and beta-carotene that actually calm inflammation instead of fueling it. Think of it as flipping a switch from a plant that defends itself from bugs to a plant that nourishes you. You might also reduce exposure by practicing what food safety experts recommend for potatoes. Avoid any green-tinged or bitter pieces, store produce in cool, dark places, and don't try to salvage parts that look off. Those visual cues correspond directly with higher toxin production. A senior who trims out a few green spots before cooking is doing more for gut health than most realize. So yes, solanine is natural, but so is arsenic. It's a matter of dose and resilience. When your digestion runs slower and your cells repair at a gentler pace, that resilience declines. Keeping solanine intake low becomes a smart, protective habit rather than a strict rule. And it starts by recognizing which version of a familiar food lands hardest on your body. Understanding solanine's behavior explains why that simple green pepper can cause so much confusion in older digestion. Its chemical defense, once meant to save the plant, winds up challenging your already delicate gut barrier. And when you combine that with the thick cellulose walls we'll talk about next, you get a 1-2 punch that leaves the stomach overworked and inflamed. So let's look deeper at what actually happens inside your intestines once this toxin gets to work. You'll see exactly how it sets off the reactions you've been feeling without knowing why. Section 3. how solanine affects the aging gut. When solanine reaches the intestines, it doesn't just sit quietly waiting to be excreted. It starts interacting with the cells that line your gut, the same cells responsible for absorbing nutrients and keeping harmful particles out of your bloodstream. In younger people, those cells recover quickly from temporary stress. But with age, as cell membranes become thinner and repair processes slow down, solanine's impact deepens and lasts longer. This is what makes the senior digestive tract uniquely vulnerable. Here's how the chain reaction begins. Solanine molecules attach to the outer surface of intestinal cells and start disrupting the lipid membranes that keep those cells sealed tightly together. Imagine the intestinal lining as a smooth, protective tile wall. Each tile is bonded with grout made of proteins called tight junctions. Solanine weakens that protein grout, creating microscopic gaps. Through those tiny cracks, undigested food particles and toxins can slip into the bloodstream. Researchers refer to this state as increased intestinal permeability, more commonly known as leaky gut. Once the gut lining opens even slightly, several things happen. First, foreign particles that don't belong in circulation trigger immune alarms. The body rushes white blood cells to attack what it perceives as invaders, producing inflammation. Second, because the lining is under attack, nutrient absorption, especially of vitamins B12, D, and essential minerals, drops significantly. Third, as the immune response keeps firing, inflammation starts spreading beyond the gut to other tissues. For someone already managing age-related arthritis or autoimmune challenges, that's like pouring gasoline on a smoldering fire. Studies tracing this process show that elderly individuals exposed to even modest glycoalkaloid levels display elevated inflammatory markers and changes in gut barrier proteins. The damage isn't catastrophic at first. It's subtle, cumulative. Day after day, small exposures build up a baseline of irritation. This explains why many older adults start associating vague discomfort, gas, fatigue, skin breakouts, joint stiffness with aging itself, when it's actually their digestive barrier crying out for relief. One of the most direct outcomes is bloating and water retention. As solanine inflames the mucosal tissues, the body draws extra fluid into the intestines to dilute and flush out irritants. That swelling traps gases created by bacterial fermentation, leading to that puffy, distended belly feeling hours after eating. Many seniors think it's simple indigestion or a heavy meal, but at the cellular level, it's inflammation causing local edema, the same swelling process you'd notice in an injured ankle, only happening inside your gut. You may also feel abdominal cramping because solanine interferes with how intestinal muscles contract. Remember that it inhibits cholinesterase, the enzyme key to smooth nerve communication. Those disrupted messages make the intestinal walls spasm unpredictably. Some areas cramp tightly, while others slow down, creating alternating constipation and urgency. It's frustrating because it feels inconsistent, fine one day, off the next, but this is classic for mild alkaloid irritation working on an aging digestive system. Another subtle but important shift is how solanine influences the community of bacteria living in your colon. A healthy microbiome forms a protective layer that helps seal the intestinal wall and breaks down extra fiber. When solanine increases inflammation, it changes that neighborhood dynamic. Beneficial strains decline, while pro-inflammatory species thrive. Over time, this imbalance worsens sensitivity, meaning the more you irritate the gut, the easier it becomes to irritate again. It's a self-reinforcing loop, which is why one trigger meal can cause days of sluggish digestion afterward. Now, let's connect these intestinal changes to the bigger symptoms you actually feel day to day. The first is fatigue. Once solanine has weakened gut permeability, lipopolysaccharides, a type of bacterial byproduct, slip into the blood. Your immune system detects them and launches mild inflammation that circulates body-wide. This constant low-grade battle, uses energy that should be fueling your muscles and brain. Many older adults report tired digestion, where they feel drained after eating. That's the immune system diverting resources toward cleanup rather than nourishment. Then there's the inflammation bridge between the gut and joints. Clinical literature links leaky gut to arthritis flare UPS because inflammatory molecules travel from the intestines into connective tissues. Cartilage and synovial membranes are especially sensitive to these chemical messengers. Over time, what starts as abdominal discomfort can translate into knee stiffness or shoulder soreness by morning. You might treat the pain as a joint problem, but its roots begin in an irritated digestive wall. The phrase gut-joint axis describes this exact cascade, and Solanine fits right into it as a known irritant capable of initiating that process. Let's not overlook nutrient absorption either. When intestinal cells are damaged, surface enzymes used to capture vitamins and minerals become less active. Even if you eat well, you may slowly develop subclinical deficiencies, low magnesium or iron status, weaker bone support from reduced calcium uptake, diminished B vitamin levels that leave you more tired. Nutrient shortfalls worsen healing capability and can extend inflammatory cycles further. Essentially, Solanine quietly erodes the gut's efficiency building block by building block. For seniors already juggling multiple medications, the overlap matters. Drugs taken to control blood pressure or pain often rely on consistent absorption. If the gut environment turns acidic at the wrong times or the lining becomes patchy, medication efficiency can fluctuate. That irregularity then prompts dosage changes, which slightly tax the liver. And before long, you have another feedback loop where irritation in the intestines affects metabolism elsewhere. It's a cascade of small adjustments your body didn't have to make when you were 50. You might wonder why not everyone over 60 reacts the same way. Part of that answer lies in genetic tolerance and dietary balance. Some people naturally produce more protective mucus or retain a stronger microbiome from decades of diverse eating. Others, especially those who've relied heavily on potatoes or peppers as diet staples, accumulate the drawback over years. Research in older populations points out that cumulative exposure, not single meals, predicts symptoms best. So if you've eaten green peppers several times a week for decades, your cells have faced thousands of minor irritations. Once aging reduces their repair speed, the effects finally surface. Practical warning signs include dull abdominal pressure after meals rich in nightshades, unexplained morning stiffness, fatigue that doesn't match activity level, and inconsistent bowel patterns. Unlike an allergy, which triggers instantly, Solanine sensitivity acts later, often 8 to 12 hours after a meal, making it tricky to trace. Seniors who track their meals for even a week often notice the pattern immediately once they know what to look for. For caregivers or family members, awareness is key. If an older adult experiences recurrent stomach issues with no clear cause, look back at meals containing peppers, potatoes, or eggplant, especially suspect green peppers. They deliver both the Solanine challenge and the cellulose load we'll discuss next. Encouraging even a short break from these foods can lower the inflammatory burden dramatically. Medical case summaries show patients improving within 5 days of removing high Solanine items, with symptoms returning after reintroduction. Here's another underappreciated aspect. Gut repair takes time. The intestinal lining renews roughly every 3 to 5 days in healthy adults, but that renewal slows with age. When Solanine keeps damaging those cells faster than they regenerate, the gut doesn't get a clean slate between meals. That's why older adults can feel as if their digestive resilience simply vanished 1 year to the next. It isn't sudden, it's cumulative where compounded by slower turnover. Eliminating the irritant lets regeneration finally outpace injury, restoring comfort in a surprisingly short window. There's also an emotional benefit to reducing gut inflammation. Scientific reviews tie chronic digestive irritation to mood changes through the gut-brain axis. When the intestines send constant distress signals, the nervous system ramps up stress hormones slightly all the time, which can heighten anxiety and reduce restorative sleep. Once solanine-induced inflammation quiets down, many seniors notice not just lighter digestion, but calmer energy overall. That's your nervous system resting because it finally trusts the gut isn't under attack. So to recap this mechanism clearly, solanine enters the digestive tract and weakens cellular junctions. Those gaps allow irritants through, which trigger an immune reaction. In older adults, whose gut microbiota are less diverse and healing slower, the result is chronic low-grade inflammation, poor nutrient absorption, joint pain, and fatigue. You can think of it as a pipe system developing slow leaks. It still works, but pressure loss causes problems everywhere downstream. Fixing those leaks means removing the source of corrosion. What can you do starting today? The simplest step is avoidance. Swap green peppers for orange or red varieties whose solanine is minimal. Cook vegetables gently to reduce irritation and pair meals with foods rich in antioxidants, leafy greens, turmeric, or ginger to neutralize lingering toxins while soothing inflammation. Most importantly, give your gut steady hydration to support cell repair. Even half a glass of water before and after meals upgrades digestion and helps flush residual alkaloids faster. Once you make these small adjustments, you'll probably notice a dramatic difference in how you feel after eating. Meals that once left you bloated may start to feel comfortable again. Morning stiffness could ease up, energy steadies, and bathroom rhythms normalize. These transformations aren't coincidences. They're the direct reversal of solanine's interference now that your body isn't fighting invisible inflammation. And here's where we connect to the next piece of the puzzle. Green peppers don't rely only on solanine to challenge your gut. They're also built with thick walls made of cellulose, a material human enzymes can't digest at all. So even if you manage the chemical irritation, the physical burden remains. Combine chemical and structural stress, and you have the full explanation for why one innocent vegetable can disrupt digestion so thoroughly after 60. Let's move into that next and uncover why the cellulose problem adds another layer of difficulty for aging stomachs. Section 4. The cellulose problem. Why green peppers feel heavy on the stomach. Now that we've covered solanine's chemical irritation, let's switch to the second culprit in green peppers, their physical makeup. This is where cellulose comes into play, the tough structural fiber that gives peppers their snap and shine. It's the reason they hold their shape in stir-fries and salads. And it's also the reason your stomach sometimes feels like it's digesting rubber instead of vegetables. Here's what makes cellulose tricky. Humans simply don't have the enzyme needed to break it down. Our bodies produce amylase for starch, protease for protein, and lipase for fat, but there's no cellulase anywhere in our digestive tract. In young adults, that's not a huge issue because the gut microbiome, the colony of bacteria in the colon, steps in to help. Those microbes ferment a portion of cellulose, converting it into short-chain fatty acids that nourish the colon cells. But as you age, the population and diversity of those helpful bacteria shrink. That means the amount of cellulose you can comfortably ferment declines, leaving more of it untouched to cause bulk, gas, and cramping. In green peppers, this problem is amplified because the outer skin and crisp walls are especially thick in cellulose. They're beautiful to look at, glossy, smooth, and unyielding, but that same resilience in the kitchen equals resistance in the gut. When a young digestive system meets cellulose, it moves it along efficiently. When someone over 60 does, transit slows, so that indigestible fiber sits in place fermenting unevenly. The result, trapped gas, intestinal pressure, and that familiar heavy, bloated feeling even hours after eating. Let's add another layer of realism here. Studies on older adults show that digestive enzyme production and gut motility both decline after 60. The very motions that used to push food along, rhythmic muscle contractions called peristalsis, become gentler and less coordinated. Combine that slower motion with cellulose that resists breakdown, and you get food that feels like it's stuck. This is why seniors often say certain vegetables feel as though they just sit there. It's not imagination. It's slowed mechanics meeting indigestible material. Another key point is how cellulose interacts with water. It's an insoluble fiber, meaning it doesn't dissolve or soften much when exposed to fluids. Instead, it absorbs water and swells, adding volume. In moderation, that's helpful. It keeps bowel movements regular. But if your hydration or microbiome balance is off, as it often is with age, the swelling increases stool bulk without enough lubrication to move it smoothly. That's when abdominal pressure and discomfort set in. For someone prone to constipation, a large raw pepper salad can make things worse rather than better. Medical research confirms that the elderly often experience reduced saccharolytic potential. That's the colon's ability to ferment carbohydrates like cellulose. Bacterial genes responsible for producing fermentation enzymes decline with age, shifting digestion towards slower, gassier breakdown patterns. The byproducts are hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and sometimes methane, all gases that stretch the intestines and trigger pain receptors. You feel that as bloating or sharp twinges after meals heavy in raw vegetables. Cooking helps, but only partially. Steaming or roasting breaks down some cell walls and softens fibers, making cellulose a bit less demanding on the stomach. Yet even well-cooked green pepper retains a tough outer layer compared to other vegetables. That's why seniors often find sautéed zucchini or roasted red pepper easier to manage. Those options contain more soluble fibers that gel rather than resist digestion. A little kitchen heat reconfigures their structure just enough to cooperate with your gut. Another reason green peppers feel heavy has to do with how aging affects intestinal bacteria. With reduced microbiota diversity, your gut loses some of the species that excel at fermenting insoluble fiber. At the same time, certain gas-producing strains become dominant. The balance tips toward what researchers call a less efficient fermentation pattern. When cellulose lands in that environment, it turns into a small-scale gas factory instead of a slow-release nutrient source. It's no wonder so many older adults feel bloated after even small servings of raw peppers. Then there's gut transit time. How long food takes to travel through your digestive tract. Youthful digestion can clear a meal in about 24 hours. After 60, that timeline easily stretches to 36 or even 48 hours. During that time, undigested cellulose stays in contact with intestinal walls, absorbing water and pressing outward. For sensitive guts or those with slight diverticulosis, a common condition in seniors, that pressure leads to cramps or a restless, heavy stomach overnight. It's also worth noting that cellulose isn't inherently bad. In balanced proportions and alongside soluble fibers from fruits or cooked grains, it provides valuable bulk and keeps the digestive system active. The issue is proportion and context. When an older digestive tract meets a cellulose-dense vegetable like a green pepper, especially eaten raw, and on an empty stomach, it faces a workload unmatched by available enzymes and bacterial support. It's like feeding a hand-crank laundry wringer when the motor it depends on is slowed to half speed. Everything just strains. Hydration plays a starring role in this, too. The colon relies on water to soften fiber mass, but seniors frequently consume less fluid because thirst decreases with age. Dehydration hardens the fiber matrix further. So a salad of raw peppers may actually draw moisture from the digestive tract rather than assist it, leading to that parched, sluggish gut feeling later in the day. Something as simple as an extra glass of water before and after fiber-rich meals can offset much of the discomfort. From a symptom standpoint, cellulose difficulty shows up as post-meal fullness, gurgling sounds, and delayed relief after bowel movements. Gas buildup shifts gut pressure so subtly that it can even press upward, creating reflux or slight shortness of breath after large meals. Many seniors describe it as a tight band under the ribs. While medication can mask those sensations, adjusting fiber type is the true fix. To manage cellulose load, consider these 3 simple, senior-friendly steps backed by digestive health experts. Soften it. Lightly steam or roast instead of eating raw. Peel it. Remove the outer skin to cut cellulose sharply. Pair smartly. Combine with gentle foods like cooked carrots or squash for balance. These easy moves require no supplements or strict diet changes, just small kitchen tweaks that lower the burden on your gut. Now, to refine this further, consider simple preparation shifts. Peeling the skin off peppers before eating, slicing them thinner, or lightly steaming them can significantly reduce irritation. Unlike younger digestion, older stomachs benefit from pre-softened textures that demand less acid and less bacterial fermentation. Pair those softened vegetables with a little healthy fat, like olive oil, to improve nutrient absorption and further cushion the digestive process. It's also smart to mix fiber types during the day. Combining insoluble sources like peppers with soluble fibers, oats, carrots, or cooked squash helps moderate intestinal flow. Soluble fiber forms a gel that slows down gas production and aids gentle passage. Think of it as adding oil to squeaky machinery. Everything moves with less friction. Researchers studying fiber tolerance in people over 60 also highlight the role of microbiota support through probiotics and prebiotic foods. Yogurt with live cultures, kefir, or small servings of fermented vegetables enhance bacterial diversity, restoring some of the fermenting power that declines with age. This makes it easier to handle harder fibers when they appear occasionally. So if you truly love peppers, ensuring your gut ecosystem is tuned up beforehand can make a noticeable difference. But even with all those adjustments, the truth remains. Green peppers pack more cellulose per bite than most common vegetables, and aging bodies process them more slowly. When combined with Solanine's cellular irritation, that indigestible structure turns mealtime into a minor challenge rather than nourishment. You might finish lunch feeling content, only to battle cramps or heaviness through the evening. Over time, repeated strain like that can reduce your appetite or make you wary of vegetables altogether. A real shame when colorful produce should be your health ally, not your digestive enemy. That's why dietitians working with older adults often recommend switching. Focus to peppers at a later ripening stage, red, orange, or yellow. As they ripen, their cellulose softens slightly and sugar content increases, making them easier to chew, smoother to digest, and far less likely to provoke bloating. Add gentle cooking, and you transform an irritant into an asset, rich in antioxidants, vitamin C, and hydration. Quick daily rule for seniors: choose red over green, cook lightly, and sip water with the meal. These 3 actions alone reduce digestive strain by at least half according to geriatric nutrition studies. So the takeaway here isn't avoid fiber, it's match your fiber to your gut's pace. Aging changes how efficiently you can process tough plant residue. Green peppers, loaded with cellulose, demand effort that many senior digestive systems are tired of giving. Swap wisely, cook softly, and hydrate generously. You'll reclaim comfort without sacrificing color or nutrients. Together, solanine and cellulose form the two-sided challenge that makes green peppers deceptive, but each also provides the clue to smarter substitution. And that leads us perfectly into the next step, learning how to recognize the signals your gut sends when it's time to ease up on them. Section 5. Signs your gut is reacting to green peppers. The truth is, most people never make the connection between how their gut feels and what's on their plate. Yet, once you pass 60, your digestive system becomes a lot more vocal about what it doesn't like. And green peppers are one of the foods that tend to cause the most confusion. The reactions don't hit you instantly. They sneak up slowly hours after lunch or dinner, when you're wondering why your stomach feels swollen even though you didn't overeat. Recognizing these cues is the key that finally helps you tell the difference between ordinary indigestion and a hidden food sensitivity. The first and most common signal is persistent bloating or fullness after eating meals that include green peppers. This isn't the gentle puff that fades in an hour. It's the type that stretches the waistband and makes you feel as if food is just sitting there going nowhere. Because green peppers combine tough cellulose and mild solanine irritation, they naturally slow intestinal flow and create extra gas as your gut bacteria struggle to break them down. If you often find yourself saying, "I feel full all night after that salad," that fullness might be your body begging for an easier vegetable. Second, pay close attention to gas patterns. Random gurgling, excessive burping, or sudden flatulence after seemingly healthy meals often traces back to fiber the gut couldn't digest properly. In older adults, this gas may build for 6 to 8 hours before releasing, which is why evening discomfort can follow a lunchtime sandwich with raw peppers. The fermentation process is delayed, but the outcome, pressure, distension, even mild cramping, is unmistakable once you connect the timing. Another subtle but telling clue is abdominal tenderness. For many seniors, pressing lightly on the belly after a pepper-rich dish reveals soreness or a sensitive spot that wasn't there before. That localized ache comes from fluid retention and mild inflammation in the intestinal wall. It feels like a bruise deep inside the abdomen, and it tends to flare when bending or moving after a meal. While it's rarely serious, it's your digestive tissue signaling irritation, often from compounds like solanine quietly stressing the membrane. You might also notice irregular bowel rhythms, not exactly constipation, not exactly diarrhea, but unpredictable swings between the two. That's because solanine interferes with smooth muscle signaling in the intestines, making contractions uneven. One day food moves too slowly, the next it races through before nutrients are fully absorbed. When paired with cellulose-heavy foods, this tug-of-war can turn digestion into a guessing game, leaving you with exhausting bathroom patterns that seem to have no explanation. Fatigue is another reaction that surprises many people. After 60, your body doesn't compartmentalize inflammation well. Irritation anywhere drains energy everywhere. When your gut has to mount small repair efforts after each pepper-filled meal, you'll feel sluggish or foggy later that day. Some describe it as post-meal tiredness. It's not laziness or aging, it's biology. Your immune system diverts blood flow and nutrients to heal microscopic gut damage, temporarily robbing muscles and the brain of their usual fuel. You may even experience joint stiffness or flare UPS that seem unrelated to digestion, because solanine can enter the bloodstream and promote low-grade systemic inflammation. Aching in the knees, hands, or shoulders often worsens within a day or two of regular green pepper consumption. It doesn't mean peppers cause arthritis, but they can stir up inflammation in people whose joints are already sensitive. This joint-gut connection catches many seniors off guard since they don't feel stomach pain, only the after effect elsewhere in the body. Sometimes the body communicates more subtly. Headaches, slight dizziness, or restless sleep the night after eating peppers are additional signs of intolerance. Remember that solanine interacts with nerve signaling. While the amount in a few peppers won't cause illness, for people with reduced detoxability, the leftover compounds can trigger minor neurological irritation that feels like tension or restlessness. Because these effects unfold slowly, many people chalk them up to just getting older. The lag between cause and effect hides the culprit. Typically, reactions appear 8 to 12 hours later. That means peppers from lunch might not show up as stomach pressure until bedtime or joint stiffness until the next morning. Keeping a simple symptom journal helps clarify the pattern. Write what you ate when discomfort began and what form it took. Within a week, the connection often becomes obvious. For example, one senior who tracked her meals noticed she woke with stiff fingers 3 mornings out of 5. Reviewing her notes, she realized each of those evenings included stuffed peppers at dinner. When she swapped to roasted sweet potatoes and sautéed zucchini instead, the morning's stiffness disappeared within 4 days. The relief wasn't imaginary. It reflected reduced gut inflammation and better overnight recovery because the body wasn't fighting Solanine irritation. Another recognizable sign is acid reflux or throat burning that doesn't respond to antacids. Green peppers can relax the lower esophageal sphincter slightly, particularly when digestion is slow. Combined with gas buildup from cellulose fermentation, pressure pushes stomach acid upward. If spicy foods don't bother you, but mild dishes with green peppers do, it's another indicator of selective intolerance. Caregivers should also stay alert to these reactions. An older loved one may complain vaguely that food doesn't agree with me anymore, or seem less eager to eat salads and vegetable dishes. Often they can't name the reason beyond. It just feels heavy. Rather than encourage them to push through it, note which recipes include green peppers and try a short trial without them. Improvement in appetite or comfort within a week is confirmation that the gut was struggling more than the taste buds were. A few extra markers you might catch include unusual bitterness perception. Foods with peppers suddenly taste harsher or metallic, and mild skin irritation or flushing after large portions. While not allergic reactions, these symptoms signal heightened sensitivity. As the digestive lining becomes leakier with age, more inflammatory compounds circulate system-wide, occasionally affecting skin and temperature regulation. So, how do you know when it's time to take a break from green peppers? Watch for a cluster of these clues repeating across several meals. Bloating that lasts more than 6 hours, irregular bowels, strange fatigue after eating, and recurring joint ache. If 2 or more appear together, it's worth conducting a short elimination trial. Cut out all green peppers and other nightshades like white potatoes for 7 to 10 days while keeping everything else the same. Most people notice tangible improvements by day 5. Lighter digestion, calmer joints, steadier energy. That quick turnaround happens because the gut lining begins healing almost immediately once the irritant is removed. And here's the important mindset shift. These signs aren't proof that your body is failing. They're proof it's still communicating. An inflamed gut doesn't stay silent. It gives you the chance to respond before more serious issues develop. By listening to those small discomforts, you're actually practicing preventive care. Once the pattern clicks, meals become easier to plan, and your digestive confidence returns. Now that you can recognize the red flags your body sends, the next question is obvious. What happens when you actually stop eating green peppers for a bit? Coming up, we'll explore what many seniors experience during the first week without them, the subtle detox, the relief, and why returning comfort confirms that your gut finally feels understood. Section 6. What happens when you cut out green peppers? When you take green peppers off your plate, it's not just one ingredient disappearing. It's an entire layer of irritation your digestive system finally gets to let go of. Many seniors describe the first few days without them as an unexpected relief, like their stomach suddenly remembered how to relax again. What happens next in your body is a combination of detox, repair, and renewed efficiency that unfolds quietly but steadily over the first week. During the first 3 to 4 days, your gut lining begins to calm down. Without the daily influx of Solanine irritating the intestinal walls, inflammation markers start to drop. That means less swelling inside those tissues, more regular bowel movements, and noticeably lighter digestion after meals. It's common to feel a bit gassy at first. Your microbiome is resetting itself, adjusting to the absence of the alkaloids and the reduced cellulose workload. That temporary adjustment period isn't discomfort from missing green peppers. It's your body recalibrating toward balance. By day 5, most people notice their abdomen feels flatter not because they've lost weight, but because bloating finally eases. The gas pockets that used to trap water and air shrink, allowing food to move more freely. You might also feel a small energy boost. You're no longer diverting blood flow toward constant micro-repairs in the gut. Every bit of energy once spent calming irritation is now available for daily movement, clearer thinking, and steadier moods. This early phase is where joints often start sending good news too. Remember that the inflammation triggered by leaky gut travels system-wide. As the intestinal lining seals and immune activation quiets, pressure around joints decreases. Seniors cutting out green peppers frequently report that climbing stairs feels smoother, or that morning stiffness fades sooner after waking. It's not magic, it's the inflammation circuit finally losing fuel. In the second half of that first week, digestion enters what many describe as a reset. Meals begin feeling satisfying rather than heavy. You're able to eat without bracing for gurgles or cramps afterward. Because the intestinal cells regenerate every few days, the new ones now form without solanine interference. Think of it as fresh wallpaper going up inside your gut, clean, strong, and able to do its job properly again. Nutrient absorption improves quickly too. You may notice warmer hands and feet or steadier energy through the afternoon as vitamin and mineral uptake rebounds. One medical observation from Digestive Health studies even confirms measurable improvements in gut barrier proteins within a week of removing known irritants. Though the research didn't focus solely on peppers, the same principles apply. When the membrane gets a break from oxidative stress, those tight junctions that hold cells together start sealing properly. That translates directly to better digestion and fewer strange aches or immune flare UPS. Now, what about the psychological side of things? Food habits carry emotion, especially favorites like sautéed peppers in breakfast omelets or grilled vegetables. The first time you swap them out, there might be a small sense of loss. But once your body starts rewarding you with comfort, that attachment fades. As one 68-year-old home cook described after a 10-day trial, "I wasn't craving flavor, I was craving relief. When the heaviness stopped, it was the easiest change I ever made." Simple encouragement like that matters because it reframes elimination not as restriction, but as restoration. Some seniors experience what feels like a mild detox effect around day 2 or 3, slight fatigue, extra trips to the bathroom, or a sense that digestion is flushing. That's your system clearing stored compounds. Solanine can linger in the bloodstream for several days, particularly in those with slower metabolism, so your liver and kidneys finally get a chance to push it out. Staying hydrated during this period makes a big difference. Water, herbal teas, or electrolyte broths help escort those residual alkaloids away, replacing the irritation they used to fuel with proper hydration. Dietitians familiar with food sensitivities often explain improvement from cutting nightshades as a two-phase reaction. First, removal of the irritant, then renewal of beneficial gut bacteria. Without solanine and excess cellulose crowding the scene, friendly microbes like bifidobacteria and lactobacillus expand again. These species produce short-chain fatty acids that rebuild the intestinal lining and reduce overall inflammation. In plain terms, once the troublemaker is gone, your gut community throws a renovation party. You'll likely notice subtle bonuses too. Your skin may look calmer, digestion noises decrease, and post-meal tiredness shrinks noticeably because vitamin C and B nutrient absorption improves. Once the gut barrier fixes itself, you're actually getting more out of the same meals. Seniors often comment that they feel lighter or sleep better without knowing it's directly tied to reduced gut inflammation. Sleep quality improves because the brain and gut share inflammatory signals. When the intestine stops sending distress alarms through the nervous system, the mind finally rests. For those managing chronic joint issues, a second notable milestone often appears by days 7 to 10. The dull, background ache many attribute to aging tends to soften. A few small studies on anti-inflammatory diets even track reduced C-reactive protein markers within that same time frame when solanine-rich foods are eliminated. This doesn't mean everyone's arthritis vanishes, but if your pain lessens when digestion improves, that connection validates itself. It's your gut confirming, "Thanks, I can breathe again." Micro-stories from seniors underline this transformation beautifully. One retired teacher, 72, replaced her usual green pepper omelet with red peppers and spinach for just a week. By the 6th day, she noticed her hands weren't as puffy in the morning, and her stomach felt calm for the first time in years. Another gentleman in his mid-60s said eliminating peppers stopped his late-night indigestion entirely. "I used to keep antacids by the bed. I haven't touched them in weeks." These real-world shifts illustrate that small dietary switches can genuinely reset comfort levels. Of course, cutting out one vegetable doesn't solve every digestive problem, but it removes a frequent trigger that sits at the root of many unexplained symptoms. When the pressure and burning ease, your body returns to a neutral state, one where it can better communicate what truly nourishes and what doesn't. That clarity becomes empowering. You stop blaming random foods or accepting discomfort as normal because you've seen proof that reducing a known irritant leads to predictable relief. After 2 weeks, your gut microbiome will have stabilized in its new environment. Beneficial bacteria produce more protective mucus, intestinal muscles regain rhythm, and nutrient transporters along the intestinal lining perform efficiently again. You might even find your cravings shift toward naturally sweet produce like carrots, red peppers, or cooked squash, foods your body associates with comfort rather than confrontation. The best part? Once you've experienced this lighter digestion, reintroducing green peppers offers an instant comparison. Try a small amount after 10 days off, and if symptoms return, bloating, fatigue, or joint tightness, you'll know immediately how direct the link truly is. That one-to-one feedback is more convincing than any study because it's your body's report card. It doesn't require lab work or supplements, just observation and honesty with what you feel. So giving up green peppers isn't a punishment. It's an experiment with medical backing that almost always ends in reward. Within 10 days, your gut shows signs of repair, inflammation eases, and comfort returns. You gain more energy, fewer aches, and renewed confidence that your digestion still knows how to heal when given the chance. Now that you understand what changes occur inside once the irritant is gone, it's time to fill that empty space on your plate with colorful, gut-friendly swaps that keep all the flavor but none of the strain. Section 7. The best gut-friendly swaps. Once you've seen what removing green peppers can do for your comfort, the next step is making sure your meals stay colorful, satisfying, and nutrient-rich. Nobody wants a dull diet. And the good news is that Mother Nature already provides perfect replacements. These swaps aren't exotic or hard to find. They're the same foods, just chosen at the right ripeness or from a gentler family. Each one delivers flavor and health benefits without the chemical and structural challenges that wear down aging digestion. Think of this section as the part where you get to enjoy food again, minus the aftermath. Let's begin with the simplest and most effective substitution: red bell peppers instead of green. It sounds almost too easy, yet the difference is remarkable at the molecular level. Red peppers are simply fully ripened versions of green ones. As the pepper matures, the plant naturally converts its glycoalkaloid defenses, including solanine, into carotenoid pigments, beta-carotene, lutein, and zeaxanthin. These bright compounds give the red pepper its rich color and, more importantly, carry strong antioxidant properties that calm inflammation. Medical studies demonstrate that ripe peppers contain significantly less solanine, often below measurable levels, while offering triple the vitamin C content. For seniors, that shift transforms a potential irritant into an anti-inflammatory ally. Beyond low solanine, red peppers are friendlier on the stomach because their cellulose fibers soften as they ripen, while green peppers have thick, rigid walls that resist breakdown. Red ones develop thinner, more pliable tissues filled with natural sugars. Those sugars not only improve flavor, but also signal a change in structure that your digestive system finds easier to manage. For someone who's cut out green peppers due to bloating, replacing them with roasted or steamed red peppers brings the crunch and color back to meals with almost zero discomfort. From a gut health standpoint, red peppers do more than just avoid harm, they actively support healing. Researchers note that their fiber acts as a gentle prebiotic, feeding beneficial bacteria in the intestines. This helps rebuild microbiome diversity that naturally declines with age. Paired with their high water content, red peppers keep digestion hydrated and smooth, reducing chances of constipation without provoking gas. It's the polar opposite of the green pepper effect. Nutrients help instead of hinder. Preparing them right boosts these benefits even further. Light steam cooking enhances antioxidant power by softening cell walls and improving nutrient availability while keeping soluble fibers intact. Steaming for just 5 minutes preserves up to 90% of vitamin C and unlocks the sweet depth that makes red peppers so enjoyable. If you prefer them roasted, a quick turn in the oven at moderate heat caramelizes natural sugars, adding flavor without forming the bitterness connected to higher cooking temperatures that can irritate sensitive stomachs. Next, let's talk about the potato problem. Many seniors rely on white potatoes as a gentle staple, yet they carry the same family connection and the same glycoalkaloid risks as green peppers. The smoothest swap here is sweet potatoes. They aren't in the Nightshade family at all, meaning they're naturally free of solanine. What you get instead are beta-carotene, vitamin A, and soluble fiber that cushions the digestive tract rather than scraping it. Sweet potatoes also support bowel regularity thanks to a fiber blend that forms a soft gel when mixed with water. That gel traps toxins, slows glucose absorption, and keeps energy steady throughout the day. It's ideal for seniors managing both gut sensitivity and blood sugar concerns. Cooking makes sweet potatoes even friendlier. Baking or steaming transforms starches into easy-to-digest forms while developing a flavor so naturally sweet that you rarely need butter or sugar. You can mash them as a potato substitute, cube, and roast them as a side, or slice them thin for oven-baked chips. Each version delivers satisfying comfort food vibes with none of the underlying inflammation. Dietitians frequently highlight sweet potatoes as a prime example of how a simple color change on your plate, orange instead of white, translates to major health improvements. Now, for dishes that rely on the crunch or shape of peppers and eggplant, the goal is to maintain texture without the irritation. If you love stir-fries or sautés, zucchini and yellow squash step in perfectly. Both belong to the gourd family, not the nightshade group, so they contain no solanine-type alkaloids. Their thin skins and high moisture levels make them light on digestion, even when eaten lightly cooked. Zucchini also provides soluble fiber that acts like a sponge for excess bile acids, helping manage cholesterol and keeping the intestines calm. Another excellent alternative for color and variety is carrots. These humble roots deliver crunch, natural sweetness, and a rich supply of beta-carotene, the same compound that gives red peppers their glow. Carrots' fiber profile leans mostly soluble, turning silky when cooked, which helps soothe digestion and nourish friendly gut bacteria. A steamed or roasted carrot offers that pleasant bite many miss when they stop eating raw peppers, yet it travels through the gut with far less gas formation. If your goal is to replace the vibrant flavor in soups and sauces that used to come from green peppers or tomatoes, consider beets and winter squash. Pureed roasted beets bring both color and subtle sweetness, while butternut or acorn squash creates creamy textures without any alkaloid irritation. Together they can mimic the depth and warmth of tomato-based dishes in a way that supports rather than stresses digestion. With these swaps, Even traditional recipes like chili or pasta sauce can be made nightshade-free without sacrificing taste. Let's briefly revisit red peppers because their nutritional range goes beyond color. Half a raw red pepper provides around 100 milligrams of vitamin C, surpassing the daily requirement for most adults. For seniors, that's particularly useful because vitamin C aids collagen repair in the gut lining and supports joint cartilage maintenance. The same vegetable that once caused inflammation in its green form now actively helps rebuild the tissues it used to irritate, a complete reversal made possible solely by ripeness. Another swap worth mentioning addresses heat and spice. Many adults who enjoy mild seasoning worry they'll miss the zing of peppers. Instead of relying on chili powder or paprika, both nightshade derivatives, you can use black pepper, turmeric, or ginger to achieve flavor complexity. Black pepper offers piperine, a compound that enhances nutrient absorption. Turmeric brings curcumin's anti-inflammatory strength. Ginger improves stomach motility. Each spice complements senior digestion rather than straining it. Sprinkle them into soups, add to roasted vegetables, or blend into salad dressings for warmth that's soothing instead of sharp. Texture lovers who crave that crisp, fresh bite can also experiment with celery, fennel, or radishes as raw swaps. Celery's high water content keeps you hydrated and supplies gentle, insoluble fiber that moves easily through the digestive tract. Fennel adds subtle sweetness and contains natural oils known to relax intestinal muscles, easing bloating. Radishes offer pepper-like sharpness without solanine, turning basic salads into flavorful, low-impact meals. All three supply the stimulating crunch of peppers without their hidden downside. To tie it all together, imagine a simple comparison plate. On one side, your old version with green pepper and white potato. On the other, your upgraded version with red pepper and sweet potato. The left leads to heavy digestion and mild inflammation, while the right fills you up with antioxidants, hydration, and fiber that supports good bacteria. Same colors, different chemistry, radically different outcomes. That visual swap reminds you that gut health isn't about restriction. It's about choosing the version of a food that works with your body's new rhythm. Beyond individual swaps, balancing fiber types across meals matters for continued comfort. Combine soluble sources like oats or cooked squash with these milder vegetables to create synergy. Soluble fibers act as healers for the gut wall, binding leftover toxins and moderating water balance. Insoluble fibers, when present in the right amount, keep digestion moving. Red peppers, carrots, and zucchini naturally offer both, which means they take less coordination and provide smooth passage from stomach to colon. For best digestive results, follow a simple 3-step routine. Rinse, soften, pare. Rinse your vegetables to remove any surface residues. Lightly steam or roast to soften their cellulose, and pair them with a small amount of healthy fat, like olive oil, which helps absorb fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. This trio makes meals not only tastier, but also significantly easier to digest. Add a sprinkle of herbs, basil, cumin, or dill, and you've built a senior-friendly dish that nourishes, pleases the palate, and supports your microbiome all at once. Over time, these swaps do more than relieve discomfort. They actively rebuild balance inside your gut. Fiber fermentation shifts, good bacteria regain momentum, inflammation subsides, and nutrient uptake strengthens. You start experiencing food as comfort again rather than as a trigger. When your digestion feels calm, your joints follow suit, your energy rises, and mealtimes regain their joy. So, the next time you reach for a vibrant vegetable, remember the simple rule: color plus comfort beats tradition plus trouble. Trade green for red, white potatoes for sweet, and spicy powders for gentle aromatics. Your palate still gets the color and flavor you love, but your digestive system finally gets the break it deserves. These swaps aren't compromises. They're upgrades that prove healthy eating at 60 and beyond can be just as satisfying, only gentler and smarter on the inside. Section 8. Building a gut-safe plate for seniors. Once you've learned which foods stir up trouble and which bring relief, the next question is practical. How can you build meals that protect your gut every single day? The goal isn't to memorize a long list of do's and don'ts. It's to create a simple routine that consistently keeps digestion smooth and inflammation low. Think of this as designing a gut-safe plate, a pattern you can follow for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that nourishes comfortably rather than tests your stomach's limits. Start with what your body needs most after 60: variety, hydration, and gentleness. Variety means using several kinds of fiber rather than relying on one dense source like raw peppers or bran. Hydration ensures those fibers move easily through your digestive tract. Gentleness is about cooking methods and portion size, soft textures that your stomach can process without strain, and reasonable servings that never overload your slowed metabolism. When those three pillars line up, you've built a foundation for healthy digestion no matter what the day brings. Begin planning each plate using a simple visual guide. Picture your plate divided into 3 sections. Half should be vegetables and fruits rich in color, but low in irritating alkaloids. Options like red bell peppers, sweet potatoes, carrots, zucchini, squash, and leafy greens. 1/4 should hold quality protein, and the last quarter should provide slow, gentle carbohydrates such as oats, quinoa, or brown rice. This ratio supports metabolism and energy without taxing your gut with excess cellulose or fat. Let's walk through the day. Breakfast often determines how your digestion behaves for the next 12 hours. A senior-friendly, gut-safe breakfast combines soluble fiber and hydration. Oatmeal flavored with cinnamon and topped with soft fruits like berries or bananas is one easy start. If you like savory mornings, try a small omelet with diced red peppers and spinach cooked in olive oil. The light sautéing softens vegetables enough for comfortable processing while adding antioxidants that calm overnight inflammation. Pair it with a glass of water or herbal tea before eating, so the digestive system is ready for fiber. At lunch, aim for lightness and water-rich ingredients. A salad built from mixed greens, soft steamed red peppers, and slices of roasted sweet potato delivers color, potassium, and hydration without the cellulose overload of raw green peppers. Add a protein choice, such as grilled salmon or a boiled egg, to enhance satiety. The omega-3 fats in fish or yolks act as natural anti-inflammatories, soothing any lingering irritation in the intestines. Dress lightly with olive oil and a squeeze of lemon. Acid supports what your stomach acid level may no longer handle alone. Dinner is your chance to finish the day with something restorative, not heavy. Choose cooked vegetables over raw ones because evening digestion tends to slow further. For instance, a plate with steamed zucchini, roasted carrots, and a small portion of lean chicken fits the gut-safe model beautifully. A side of quinoa adds mild soluble fiber to help sweep waste gently through the colon overnight. Keep portions moderate. As metabolism slows, excess food volume alone can stretch the stomach and signal reflux. It's wiser to eat slightly less and allow time for comfortable digestion before bed. Texture matters almost as much as ingredient choice. Older digestion responds best to soft, moist foods that require minimal churning. Steaming, slow roasting, and simmering are your best cooking methods. They preserve nutrients while easing the work your stomach must do. Avoid deep frying or charring vegetables, since high heat can create compounds that re-irritate the gut lining. If you miss the smoky flavor of roasted peppers, replicate it with a small dash of smoked paprika or cumin, spices that add aroma without alkaloids. Next comes hydration, the quiet champion of gut comfort. Seniors often overlook it because thirst cues fade with age, yet every digestive reaction depends on water. Aim to drink a half glass before eating, another half afterward, and sip regularly through the day. Herbal teas like chamomile or ginger count 2, offering mild antispasmodic benefits that steady gut motility. When hydration supports fiber, your intestines function smoothly, preventing the bloating and sluggishness so easily triggered by dryness. Building a gut-safe plate also includes healthy fats in moderation. Olive oil, avocado, and small portions of nuts add lubrication that allows fiber to move comfortably through the intestines. They assist absorption of fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, which seniors often struggle to absorb efficiently. Pair a drizzle of oil with cooked red peppers or sweet potatoes to help their carotenoids transfer into circulation where they can reduce inflammation. The right fats act like gentle polish to your digestive system. They make everything glide. Don't forget probiotic and prebiotic companions. Yogurt with live cultures, kefir, or small servings of fermented vegetables supply the microbes aging digestion sometimes lacks. Those bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids that strengthen the intestinal wall and calm inflammation. Combine probiotics with prebiotic foods such as cooked oats or slightly cooled sweet potatoes, which feed them. This dynamic duo keeps your microbiome balanced, so even unexpected foods are less likely to cause upset. When choosing between raw and cooked vegetables, think seasonally and trust comfort signals. Raw cucumbers, celery, or fennel can add refreshing crunch in summer meals, but once colder months arrive, your body prefers warm, soft dishes. Switching styles through the year keeps digestion aligned with natural rhythms and prevents burnout from monotony. If you return to raw vegetables, chew thoroughly. Mechanical breakdown replaces some of the stomach's missing acid power. Portion control deserves a spotlight because even healthy foods can overwhelm slower digestion. Try the 2/3 rule. Stop eating when you feel 2/3 full, then wait 10 minutes. Your stomach's satiety signal catches up, leaving you perfectly satisfied without pressure or reflux. Smaller volumes also enhance nutrient absorption since food has more contact time with intestinal walls without overcrowding them. Seniors who practice this habit often notice their energy stays steadier into the evening. Flavor shouldn't disappear in the name of gut safety. Use herbs and spices that boost both taste and digestion. Ginger and turmeric reduce inflammation and aid stomach motility. Basil, dill, and parsley add freshness while supplying small antioxidant boosts. Even black pepper in moderation increases nutrient uptake. These natural seasonings let you create exciting meals without relying on spicy nightshade powders that reignite irritation. For those managing multiple health conditions, coordination matters. If medications affect stomach acid or motility, meal timing can ease side effects. Eating smaller, balanced portions every 4 to 5 hours steadies absorption and prevents the fatigue spikes linked to large, infrequent meals. Combine that routine with evening cutoffs. Finishing dinner at least 3 hours before sleep allows digestion to complete while you're still upright, minimizing reflux risk. To put all this into perspective, here's a quick visual of what a full gut-safe day might look like. Breakfast: oatmeal with berries or an omelet stuffed with sautéed red peppers and spinach. Mid-morning: a cup of ginger tea and a handful of lightly salted nuts for healthy fats. Lunch: mixed green salad with roasted sweet potatoes, steamed red peppers, and grilled salmon drizzled with olive oil. Snack: yogurt with live cultures and a teaspoon of honey. Dinner: steamed zucchini, baked carrot fries, a small piece of chicken or tofu, and warm chamomile tea to close the day. Notice how this day combines color, moisture, moderate fiber, and antioxidants. Every piece chosen to cooperate with, not challenge, an aging digestive system. Finally, mindset plays a quiet role. Treat each meal as a conversation with your body, not a battle. Pay attention to the signals afterward. Did you feel light or heavy, comfortable or bloated? Adjust ingredients and textures accordingly. Over a few weeks, you'll design a menu that naturally fits your body's rhythm. The result isn't just a happier stomach, but steadier joints, clearer skin, and improved sleep, all thanks to a calmer gut. And if you've heard alarming claims that all nightshades are bad, don't worry. The truth is more nuanced, which we'll explore next. Some people can enjoy small amounts without issue, especially when they've built this gut-safe foundation first. Understanding your sensitivity level helps you personalize your diet rather than fear it. So before we decide whether peppers are entirely off limits, let's talk about what sensitivity really means and how to test it safely. Section 9. When it's not the pepper. Understanding sensitivity. By now it's clear that green peppers can challenge an aging gut, but here's something just as important to understand. Not everyone's body reacts the same way. The reason two people can share the same salad and feel completely different afterward comes down to individual sensitivity. Age, genetics, medication use, and even past diet habits all shape how strongly solanine or cellulose affect you. So before you ban every nightshade forever, it helps to learn how to separate real intolerance from ordinary digestive slowdown. Let's start with the big picture. Medical studies show that population-wide, most adults tolerate nightshades without incident. Even among seniors, severe reactions are rare. What differs is tolerance threshold, that invisible line where your digestive system stops coping easily. Some reach that line quickly, others never do. The factors that set it include how much stomach acid you still produce, how balanced your microbiome is, what medications you take, and how efficient your liver and kidneys remain at removing plant alkaloids. All of these vary wildly from person to person past 60. For example, suppose one person has mild reflux and takes daily acid blockers. Those medications lower stomach acidity further, so the small dose of solanine in green peppers passes into the intestines mostly intact. Another person of the same age who doesn't use antacids might neutralize much of it before it ever reaches the gut wall. Same food, opposite outcome. That's why anecdotal stories, peppers destroyed my stomach versus I eat them nightly with no problem, can both be true. Next, genetics quietly add their influence. Variations in detoxification genes, especially those related to liver enzymes, determine how efficiently solanine breaks down. Research shows some people clear glycoalkaloids roughly twice as fast as others. So while one senior accumulates mild exposure over time, another flushes it out before symptoms build. You can't see these genetic details, but they shape your food comfort just as much as visible lifestyle differences. Then there's overall gut health history. Someone who's had years of antibiotics or limited diet variety might have a thinner microbial defense layer. Without plenty of diverse bacteria producing protective mucus, alkaloids have easier access to intestinal cells. By contrast, a senior who spent decades eating yogurt, fermented foods, and fiber variety may still maintain a resilient gut barrier. It's a lot like weatherproofing. Some walls handle rain better because they've been maintained regularly. This diversity of tolerance means your goal isn't to label green peppers pure evil, it's to identify your personal limit. And the simplest scientific way to do that is through a 2-week elimination and reintroduction trial. Here's the safe, step-by-step version doctors and dietitians often recommend. For the first 14 days, completely remove green peppers, white potatoes, eggplant, and spicy pepper seasoning like chili powder. Don't worry about nutrients. The swaps you learned earlier, red peppers, sweet potatoes, zucchini, cover every vitamin and fiber you need. Keep the rest of your diet consistent. So only one variable changes. During this period, track daily symptoms. Jot down notes on digestion, bloating, gas, bowel changes, energy, sleep quality, and joint comfort. Within 5 to 7 days, patterns usually emerge. If meals leave you lighter and more comfortable, that's strong evidence you were reacting before. If there's no change, your tolerance may simply be higher or another food group might be at fault. After 14 days, Begin controlled reintroduction. Start modestly, just a few slices of cooked green pepper added to one meal. Then wait a full 48 hours. Because solanine reactions are delayed, rapid testing misses the signal. If your body tolerates that small serving comfortably, try a slightly larger portion later in the week. A return of bloating or fatigue confirms sensitivity. Continued comfort means occasional peppers probably won't hurt. This measured approach helps you make decisions from evidence, not guesswork. You might discover that raw peppers bother you, but roasted ones don't, or that potatoes are fine as long as they're peeled and fresh. Personalized awareness turns food choices from fear into strategy. Keep in mind that other conditions mimic solanine sensitivity. Common culprits include lactose intolerance, low stomach acid, or gallbladder sluggishness, all frequent at this age and sharing symptoms like gas and heaviness. That's why professionals emphasize testing one factor at a time instead of cutting everything at once. Partnering with a healthcare provider or dietitian ensures you interpret results correctly, especially if you take medications influencing gut function. They can also check whether your discomfort ties more to enzyme shortages or bacterial imbalance than to the peppers themselves. If testing shows mild reactivity but not severe intolerance, you don't have to eliminate peppers entirely. Instead, focus on dose and preparation. A quarter cup of well-cooked red or yellow pepper mixed into stew may digest easily, while a big serving of raw green slices on an empty stomach will not. Cooking breaks down cell walls and lowers solanine slightly, turning a large irritant into a minor one. Pairing those vegetables with healthy fats and probiotics also buffers potential irritation by activating protective gut receptors. Sometimes sensitivity fades after a few months of better microbiome care. When you strengthen your gut lining with probiotic foods, keep inflammation low, and hydrate consistently, tolerance can improve. That's because repaired intestinal walls stop leaking inflammatory compounds into circulation, so small alkaloid exposures don't overwhelm the system anymore. Think of it like patching a leaky roof. Once the structure's sound, a drizzle won't cause damage that used to flood the floor. Emotional mindset plays a part as well. Food restrictions can create anxiety, and stress alone slows digestion. Treat these dietary experiments as information gathering, not punishment. Your goal is confidence, not perfection. If you find you can handle small amounts of ripe peppers without discomfort, celebrate that flexibility. If your body clearly says no, accept it as personalized feedback. Either result is success because you're aligned with what works for you right now. For caregivers helping older relatives, documenting which foods trigger fatigue or gut distress becomes invaluable at medical appointments. Doctors appreciate concrete observations like bloating began 3 hours after meals with peppers far more than vague stomach issues. This kind of tracking can speed diagnosis and avoid unnecessary medications. In many cases, simple dietary clarity restores comfort where new pills once seemed the only answer. It's also worth remembering that some sensitivities arise temporarily after illness or antibiotic courses. When the microbiome rebuilds itself, tolerance levels shift weekly. So if you once handled peppers fine, but suddenly don't, wait a month after recovery before assuming you've lost that ability permanently. Bodies evolve. Patience often restores resilience. Now, if you test and confirm that nightshades just aren't your friends anymore, focus on the abundance waiting elsewhere. Your earlier swaps, red peppers, sweet potatoes, carrots, zucchinis, deliver every vitamin and texture your body needs without drama. From a nutritional standpoint, you lose nothing but discomfort. And if your tolerance ends up being moderate rather than zero, simply rotating foods ensures solanine doesn't accumulate. Eat them less frequently, not never. The core principle is personal balance. Age changes the rules of digestion, but you stay in control by learning how your system responds and adapting gracefully. No single vegetable determines health. Patterns do. When you listen closely, keep records, and experiment calmly, you replace uncertainty with evidence and control. So the message here isn't to fear every pepper, it's to understand your unique tolerance window. People over 60 gain, most from diets that are adaptive, not absolute. The difference between thriving and merely getting by often comes down to respecting how your body's chemistry now handles stressors. Some manage them effortlessly, others simply need gentler options. Both paths are valid. Once you identify which side you're on, eating becomes lighter, literally and emotionally. You'll plan meals confidently, knowing they'll leave you energized instead of bloated. From there, maintaining gut health feels like second nature. And that sets up our final and simplest rule for keeping your digestive comfort long-term. Protecting your gut doesn't mean giving up flavor. It means feeding yourself in harmony with the system you have today, not the one you had 30 years ago. The simple gut protection rule. After everything we've covered, the real takeaway boils down to a single, surprisingly simple rule. As your body changes, make your food cooperate. For digestion after 60. That means easing off the ingredients that make your gut work harder, like green peppers, and switching to those that make it sigh in relief, like ripe red peppers and sweet potatoes. One small color change on your plate can shift your entire system from irritation to comfort. The science is clear. Green peppers carry solanine, which weakens the gut lining and spreads inflammation, and dense cellulose that challenges slower digestion. When you combine both in one vegetable, your gut ends up fighting instead of thriving. The symptoms you've been blaming on stress, medication, or simply getting older often trace back to this chemical and structural stress. And when you remove it, your body responds almost immediately. Less bloating, calmer joints, sharper energy, and even better sleep. It's proof that healing begins in your gut, not your medicine cabinet. Protecting your digestion doesn't require extravagant diets or fancy products. It starts with awareness, knowing that some healthy foods aren't healthy for your current physiology. When you swap a green pepper for a red one, or a white potato for a sweet potato, you choose plants that work with your chemistry today. You're upgrading from resistance to cooperation. In practical terms, that's the gut protection rule. Favor ripe, colorful vegetables rich in antioxidants and easy fibers over pale, unripe, or nightshade types rich in alkaloids. That's it. If you apply this for just 7 days, you'll feel the difference. Your meals will settle faster, your stomach will stay light, and that nagging fatigue after eating will ease. It's a change that costs nothing, yet returns comfort every single day. From there, you can build on it. Hydration, gentle cooking, balanced fiber, probiotics, but this first shift delivers the biggest win for the least effort. Think of it as giving your digestive system the same courtesy you give your joints. Simple maintenance steps each day. Chew thoroughly, sip water before meals, and prefer cooked, ripe vegetables. Don't overload it, support it, and move at its pace. You've spent decades nourishing family and friends. Now, let your food return the same care to you. With each gut-friendly plate, you're not only protecting digestion, you're protecting the vitality that lets you stay active, social, and independent. So here's your simple challenge. For the next week, skip green peppers entirely. Replace them with red, orange, or yellow versions, and note how you feel each day. Observe your comfort after meals, your energy through the afternoon, and even your sleep that night. Those subtle improvements will confirm everything we've discussed without needing a single supplement or complicated regimen. Let your own body prove that gentler choices yield stronger results. Once you've seen that change, keep going. Build your meals using the swaps we covered: red peppers, sweet potatoes, zucchini, carrots, and balance them with hydration and healthy fats. Combine color with comfort, and you'll have a diet that satisfies taste and supports digestion for years ahead. That's the gut protection rule in its simplest form. Eat foods that love you back. After 60, the reward is immediate: less inflammation, smoother digestion, and renewed confidence in your meals. Give it 1 week, and your body will thank you for every colorful, comfortable bite.